Our power grid it's incredible, a true marvel of the 20th century. But here's the thing, it's also becoming dangerously fragile. So today, we're going to look at a powerful solution that's really built for the 21st century, the microgrid. Think of it as an energy lifeboat that could be the very thing that keeps your lights on when the main grid fails.
You know that feeling, right? The lights flicker, and then everything just goes dark. We've all been there. But what if that outage wasn't just for a few hours? What if it was for days or even weeks? With extreme weather becoming the new normal, this is a terrifyingly real possibility for millions of people.
So let's get right to it. What is the actual problem here? Let's take a look at our grid's breaking point to really understand why this massive, interconnected system is suddenly so vulnerable.
Well, it really comes down to its design. See, our grid is a centralized top-down system. And what that means is that a single point of failure, like a big transmission line getting knocked out by a wildfire or a hurricane, can trigger these massive, cascading blackouts over a huge area. It's a brilliant system, for sure, but it was built for a different century and a very different climate.
Okay, so what if we flipped the script? Instead of relying on this one giant kind of vulnerable grid, what if we created a whole network of smaller, smarter, self-sufficient ones? Well, that is the revolutionary idea behind the microgrid, our smart energy lifeboat.
The absolute magic of a microgrid is that it can operate autonomously. It's basically its own little self-contained power system for a specific area, like a hospital, a military base, or maybe a whole neighborhood. When the main grid goes down, the microgrid can just disconnect itself, they call this islanding, and keep its own lights on using local power from things like solar panels or batteries.
And that's why this is so much more than just a big backup generator. A microgrid is smart. It's like an orchestra conductor for all the local energy, constantly balancing what's being generated with what's being used. It makes sure everything works in perfect harmony, whether it's connected to the main grid or operating all on its own.
This really shows you the two sides of the coin here. When it's in islanded mode, it's our lifeboat, right? It provides that crucial resilience during a blackout. But the rest of the time, when it's in grid-connected mode, it's actually an active helper. It helps make the larger grid more stable, it cuts down on emissions, and it smoothly brings in local power from renewables like solar. It's a system that adds value every single day, not just during a crisis.
All right, this all sounds great on paper, but does it actually work? Where's the proof in a real blackout? Well, let's look at a pretty dramatic case study where one microgrid became a literal beacon of hope.
Okay, so picture this. Northern California, October 2019. To prevent wildfires from sparking, the utility makes a drastic call. They preemptively shut off power to hundreds of thousands of people. Stores close, traffic lights go dark, life basically grinds to a halt. But right in the middle of all this darkness, one community was just humming along, the Blue Lake Ranch Area Tribe.
During this massive outage, their community microgrid didn't just keep the lights on for themselves. It became a lifeline for everyone else. And the number of people who came seeking help, it's staggering. We're talking 10,000 people. Folks needing to charge critical medical devices, first responders, you name it, they all flocked to the tribe's powered-up community center.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. A single microgrid was supporting 10% of the entire county's population. It kept gas stations running, it powered a Red Cross shelter, and it gave emergency services a place to operate from. It wasn't just a convenience, it was a critical piece of public safety infrastructure. This was the lifeboat concept, proven in a real-world crisis.
Okay, so if these things are so amazing, so clearly essential, why aren't they everywhere? What's the holdup? Well, it turns out there are some pretty old rules getting in the way of this new technology.
And here's the kicker. The biggest obstacle? It's not the technology. The tech is ready to go. The economics are making more and more sense every day. No, the real problem is this tangled mess of outdated laws and regulations that were designed for a world where only one giant utility company could own the power lines and sell electricity.
It really boils down to a surprisingly simple question. Who's allowed to own the wires that cross the street? In most places, utilities have exclusive rights. So if a community wants to build a microgrid to connect, say, the fire station, the grocery store, and the local clinic, they could actually be legally blocked from running a single wire across a public road. It's a rule from a monopoly mindset, and it just doesn't fit our modern needs.
Then there's this other huge hurdle. How do you put a price tag on something that didn't happen? How do you measure the value of a blackout you avoided? We can calculate the cost of solar panels and batteries, no problem, but it's way harder to convince regulators to approve a project based on the value of keeping a hospital open or saving a life. If we can't agree on how to value resilience, a lot of these projects never get off the ground.
And on top of all that, how do you even connect these things to the main grid? Right now, almost every microgrid project is treated like a totally unique custom job. This creates huge uncertainty, long delays, and massive costs. I mean, imagine trying to build houses if there were no standard building codes. That's pretty much the world microgrid developers are living in.
So yeah, the challenges are definitely real. But, and this is the important part, so is the momentum for change. The goal now is to start building the grid of tomorrow by creating a whole new framework that really unlocks the potential of these microgrids.
And this isn't just some fringe idea. This is the vision at the highest levels. The U.S. Department of Energy doesn't see microgrids as just a niche solution anymore. They see them as a fundamental, essential component of our future energy system.
And to make that vision a reality, the Department of Energy has a really straightforward action plan. First, they're training the experts we need. Second, they're building better tools to help us finally put a real number on the value of resilience. And third, they're helping write a new, standardized rulebook to make connecting to the grid safe, fast, and efficient.
And hey, this isn't just some plan for the future. It's happening right now. States are already leading the way. California is putting $200 million on the table to get clean energy microgrids built in the communities that need them most. And check out Hawaii. They're creating a first-of-its-kind system that will actually pay private companies for the service of providing resilience. That's a game changer.
So, when you put it all together, it's pretty clear, right? Microgrids are way more than just a backup plan. They're a blueprint for a more resilient, more democratic energy future. The question isn't if this is going to happen, but how quickly we can tear down those old rules and make it a reality. So think about it. What in your community needs an energy lifeboat? A microgrid might just be the answer.